A very good morning to you and welcome back to the World Cup cross-country tour, day 2 of the season. A sprint event yesterday, which was as good as any we've seen over recent years, and one victory apiece for the Swedes and the Norwegians. Interesting race in the women's, Mike, a reverse of the top 2 from last year. Falla being beaten by Nielsen of Sweden. Most of those athletes are racing again today. It's a 10-kilometre classic for the women. How much do you think yesterday's efforts will have taken, particularly out of those who made it through to the final stages?
You have to look at it, and 4 times around, the whole day with the tension, picking yourself up ready again for the next sprint, it has to mentally and physically. But we've seen in the past, those winning the sprints can still perform so well that the next day it's incredible.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how Marit Bjørgen gets on today. Well, as we mentioned, it was Stina Nielsen who managed to take the first win and maximum points. Great race from her, her 4th victory.
And that's from the gun, the tight exit from the stadium before the fast descent. Up to 50, 60 kilometers per hour down this descent.
Nothing really developing in the early stages of the women's final, but as is always the case here in Ruka, it came down to the final hill. The 2 Norwegians still in it at this stage. Everyone expecting Falla to win again, as she did last year, and it would have been her 4th successive classic sprint win, which would put her up level with Marit Bjørgen in the record books. But this was the move from Nielsen that actually won her the race. A 15-metre section of that climb, where she managed to open up a 4-5-metre lead over the 2 Norwegians.
Vital at that stage of the race, and she just had enough to survive. Falla was always going to attack back on her.
Yeah, another 20 metres. Falla, I think, may well have got it, but it wasn't there. Perfectly paced, perfectly timed by Nielsen, getting her first classic sprint win. She succeeded in the freestyle before, but in the end, a reasonably comfortable victory and a good 3rd place for Heidi Weng. She's on the podium more often than not. Nice to see her getting a victory last year, but she's yet to get her first one this season. So Nielsen, 15,000 Swiss francs as a result. That's not a bad payday for day 1 of the season.
And I think significantly her first victory in the classic in sprint racing. So she really has worked on that, and maybe in the distance race she's a contender today as well.
Okay, so can any team challenge the Norwegians in terms of national points, national cups in the women's?
It's hard. It's such a strong team, the Norwegian women. Maybe down the line, but I don't think this season.
6 minutes to go before the start of the women's 10K Classic. That's coming up right after this. Welcome back to Ruka. 80 athletes on the start sheet for the women's 10-kilometre classic. One of those is Aina Kaiser Saarinen, one of 4 sisters, all of them good skiers, but Aina Kaiser is the best of those. 35 years skiing experience. She started at the age of 2. Here she is.
Aina Kaiser, we missed you for almost all of last season with the birth of your daughter. You're back now in World Cup, almost like you never left. Great sprint yesterday, and you must be looking forward to today's 10K.
Yeah, it's amazing how fast the time has gone, and I'm really excited to come back. And yesterday it was a really good race, so I can't wait to get now to the 10K.
We had, I think, some of the biggest crowds we've ever seen here in Ruka. You think you will feel them on the course today?
Yes, indeed. Yesterday it was awesome already, and today I expect better.
Well, we wish you all the best on the course today.
Thank you.
Now, there she is, starting number 3. She's a good cyclist, good runner, obviously a brilliant skier. What else?
I loved her positive attitude there. A year, it's not a break when she's had the baby. It's certainly a busy time, and to come back this strong, she's believing in herself, and the World Championships in February, she's a real contender.
Yeah. an all-round athlete as well, 4th in the National Pole Vault Championships as well. So expect to see some fireworks from her. Could be the pace setter, although Ruka of Russia, who starts number 1, could be out there as well. Let's have a look further down. The Americans with Ida Sargent. Everyone looking forward to seeing how the Americans get on the last 3, 4, 5 seasons. It's been a gradual step up from them. There we see there's a Fabian for Slovenia. Annika Taylor goes for Great Britain. A late start for Annika. Not ideal. Conditions fairly icy though at the moment, Mike. If it stays like this, I cannot see too much difference between the start and the end of the race.
It's interesting. I think we commented watching these pictures or watching them out on the track earlier. There's a lot of slipping, so icy already. Well, there we are. It's Kala slipping badly, having a little chat with her coach saying, how do we fix this?
Well, that's the bit of footage we saw 10 minutes ago. So.
and a number of the others were slipping, so icy tracks, a little testing.
Well, here is the Queen, Marit Bjørgen. She is back. She is back, just like Saarinen, after starting her family, and hasn't got back into winning ways quite yet. Looked a little bit sluggish in the sprint, but I think you would expect that. I think we'll see some much better form from her today. There's the profile of the course. Look at the profile rather than the map, because it tells you so much more. And then, of course, that cruel finish up into the stadium to finish the run. Lots of up and down, but when you have a big uphill, you generally get a decent amount of rest after it.
Well, that's vital, and that almost levels when I say levels the field, it's good recovery for everybody. The strongest, like Kowalczyk and Bjørgen, they can burn the lactic acid and cope with continual climbs, but the recoveries, I believe, help the less good athletes today in relation to the best.
Also looking forward to seeing how the Germans get on. Berle going Belga. We got Nicole Fessel as well. And the Finns with plenty of talent out there today. So day 2 of the cross-country World Cup season. We had a lot of snow, a lot of wind. It was -6, -7 yesterday. Felt a whole lot colder than that. Conditions a little kinder today. That's great news for the cross-country skiers. Even better news for the ski jumpers who will be in action later on. And of course the Nordic combiners competing as well. A much shortened programme here in Ruka. The 15th year in succession that the season has started here. But the mini tour that we saw last year and the previous years, Mike, has now gone to Lillehammer.
Yes, I think that will be exciting. We're guaranteed, like here, large spectator crowds in Lillehammer, and it will be an exciting second weekend.
So it's Ruka of Russia who gets the race underway, just 21 years old. We first saw her on the World Cup back in March 2014, came in at the end of the 13-14 season. Had a really good run yesterday, got through to the final, finished in 6th place, didn't compete in that final really, but she'll have been delighted to make it through to the final stages. Daria Beatty for Canada, coached by Ivan Babikov. I wonder if she knew what she was going to be in for when Babikov stepped in. He is a taskmaster, and I don't think many have trained harder than him in years gone by.
Well, and I think exciting times for the Canadian team. The development programs are so good. They've been in place for a long time, and to have Babikov now assisting or leading the programs has to be positive.
Beatty winning the national championships in the 10 free. I think she also won the sprint freestyle as well. Here's Saarinen, who we heard from earlier on. Started skiing at the age of 2. She's done a bit of training over in Canada as well. Was in fact Alaska she went to with Kick and Randall, yeah. And I think she said that was a real turnaround for her. She really enjoyed her session over there. Loved training over in Alaska, and who can blame her?
I'll tell you what, she's looking incredibly good. She's that break that she's had, it's the first break she's had in almost 19 years of World Cup racing for Saarinen, and she looks as sprightly as she did when she first came on the scene.
Yeah, 37 she is now. Rosie Brennan, first of the Americans, finished 34th in this race last year. She was 44th in the sprint, so didn't get through to the final stages, but dropped 2 positions on her performance last year, so she'll certainly be wanting to turn that around. Is that Heidi Weng just getting her skis marked? I think it was. And here we see Sebasek for Slovenia, lives in Bled, same place as Jakub Fak, actually. He's built himself a nice house just outside Bled. We should see him in action. The Biathlon World Cup starting today. Östersund hosting the first races, and as usual we start with the mixed relays.
Yeah, Shebeshek yesterday surprising, not surprising that she finished 6th in the qualifying, so she's got the out-and-out pace, but finishing 30th, had problems in her heat.
Sareva spent her pre-season racing in Saraselka, as did most of the Russian team. I think she's a better freestyle, but actually had a really good race in the 10K Classic in the national championships and took second place. And if you can get second in the Russian national championships, you're certainly capable of getting a podium in the World Cup.
And I think yesterday, as we look at Fala, yesterday the Russian team looked, certainly the sprint team, looked a lot stronger than we've seen in the past, in the recent past.
This is Kobayashi of Japan, watched by Hisashi Yamaguchi, the Japanese coach. And Japan with Masako Ishida. She'll be starting number 14. Natalia Nepraeva. Now, she was beaten by Sareva in the 10-kilometer national championships. So those two starting just a minute apart. I think Nepraeva will appreciate her start position. She'll certainly be getting splits off her teammate.
It's always a good thing, isn't it? And well, you could argue further back down the field it's the best place to go if the conditions don't change. But with 80 starters, it's an awful long time starting at 30-second intervals.
Now, Hannah Falk, who's had a bit of success over the summer. She won something called the Aliens Loppet, which is a 48-kilometer roller ski race worth 75,000 Swedish krona. Thank you very much for a day's work. Well, 48k is a good day's work. There's no doubt about that. She's had eye problems in the past, rare condition, and she nearly lost the sight of her right eye. That would have been difficult, just one eye, much harder to judge distance, of course.
Yeah, very much.
But almost fully recovered from that. Anna Haag, silver in the Olympics skiathlon back in 2010 out in Vancouver, and of course the girlfriend of Emil Jonsson.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, a good partnership. If you're in cross-country skiing, you can bring your life more together if your partner's also doing World Cup racing.
Now, if you're wondering why they're not having their weight measured, it's just the height today. This is all about the ski pole length, because they've said the ski poles cannot be more than 83% of your height with your boots on. They don't want everyone taking their boots off in these conditions. And this is the one measure they're taking. In other races, Mike, and I suspect it's going to be in Loppet races, they will mark certain sections of the course where you cannot double pole. I was trying to find out last night whether they'd decided which sections they'll be, but I'm still convinced it will be the gradual uphills where it's not steep enough to herringbone, but it is steep enough to need the two-phase or the diagonal gate.
Yeah, most likely. So they're not doing it at World Cup, but national championships and other races, Alpen Cup races, they will be putting these zones in, as well as the ski poles now are not allowed to be longer than 83% off your height with ski boots on a flat surface, and that's what they were measuring in the picture earlier.
As we watch Kalsina chasing Nishikawa out of the start sheet. Emily Nishikawa competing for Canada, and she's away. This is Polina Kalsina off the pace in the 5K Classic in the Russian trial races in Saraselka, and hopefully she's turned something around. The coaches have obviously got faith in her. Number 17 on the starting gate, it's 22-year-old Leah Einfalt from Ljubljana. And, of course, she'll be skiing up at Pachuca, I should think, a fair amount. Usually fairly good conditions up there, up above Bled. Of course, there's a Biathlon World Cup there as well. Well, this does mean that you've got to have at least two more people working, one to do the measuring, another to take down the recording.
Well, I was wondering how it was going to work. I'd heard it was to be random in the stadium, but it looks like he's checking most of the athletes, if not all of them. Like in biathlon, you get the day, 2 days before the race starts, you get allocated nation times to check all the equipment. I thought maybe they'd work it that way.
But Mike, no one is going to grow or shrink over the next 6 months. Why not just get all the teams to submit the heights of their athletes, and then they can check the occasional one and just make sure that it tallies with the information they've been sent, and then all they have to do is measure the poles, and most of the poles have the length written on them anyway.
They do, but you know how it works. If there's an edge to be gained anywhere, you have to have rules, okay. And you have to check the rules, I think, sadly.
Well, it takes one to know one. I was thinking last night over this, the preservation of the classic style. I wonder how much Roda and Swix and the other wax manufacturers have had to do with this, because the stick wax is a massive business.
It is, but I think this is the traditional way of covering the snow from the beginning, and I think it is very important to preserve this action. If it were just the double polling, then it's almost a different race. Like the freestyle, when it came in, it became a different race.
9:35 at 3.1 kilometres. That's not particularly quick, although they are coming up to the top of one of the longest climbs on this course. I think that time's going to be fairly soundly beaten. Here comes Saarinen. She's already gone past Daria Beatty of Canada, and the Finnish veteran, can we call her a veteran at 37? I think we can. Looks to be struggling for grip.
She certainly does. Look at that slip there. She's trying to look at the way she's almost running, really compressing the skis onto the icy tracks and managing to get some purchase.
Still 22 seconds inside as we go back to the start. This is Rita-Lisa Ropinen, Saarinen's teammate, and a year older, 38 years old. One win in her career. She's been on the podium 5 times, and I was having a look. I couldn't see too much action from her in the pre-season. She did one race and then pulled out of the next. I suspect that she's had illness problems in the last few weeks of preparation.
I think so, but and last season she was concentrating on the marathon races quite a lot. But remember, she was third in the relay in Falun World Championships a couple of years ago, Ropinen,
along with the rest of the team. Sandra Ringvold now for Germany, coached by Frank Ulrich. Biathlon fans will recognise that name. Do you think that's a good transfer for Frank?
It was an interesting transfer. You spend your lifetime, he's 5 times world champion in biathlon, he coached biathlon forever. It was quite an interesting and surprising, I thought, change in coaching path.
Anastasia Sadova, born in 1995. And so that makes her what?
She's just 21
years old.
And what a star. I think this girl is, well, she proved it at the Junior World Championships, under 23 championships, where she took the title, the gold medal in the 10K Classic. So Sedova, another good find.
World Cup leader. She's in the yellow bib. Will Nielsen be able to hold on to it today? Julia Belger is certainly not going to take it away from her. She comes from Oberwiesenthal, beautiful area down in the south of Germany.
It's Oberhof area, isn't it? Oberstdorf area, not Oberhof. That's up in the former east. And Belger, another good talent, 7th at the Junior Worlds in this race, the 10-kilometre Classic. No mean feat. She was 41 seconds behind Sedova.
9:13 the lead time, just coming into the bottom of the hill with 45 seconds to spare, so we'll keep an eye on that. I think this could challenge the leading time, and Hannah Falk looking very comfortable at the moment. 21st in this race last year. She finished 9th in the sprint yesterday, so she did all but the final run. That could be crucial. So many of the athletes, so many of those who made the final, might look great in the first round, great in the semi-final, and then just struggled in the in that last final.
It's difficult, isn't it? If you put everything out, if you put all your energy out in the qualifier, which you have to, then you've got to get through to the next round. So by the time you get to the 4th occasion, a lot of the younger, less experienced athletes have no energy left. Aggressive start.
Yeah, Nielsen hungry for success. This is someone that she certainly needs to be concerned about. Marit Bjørgen hasn't forgotten how to sign her name. She spent much of the last 8 months doing that. So many fans, and just a shame that she's not going to be up against Therese Johaug. We still can't quite find out how long Johaug is going to be absent from the World Cup for, Mike.
Well, I've certainly heard 2 months mooted, whether that's from the date the test was found out or whether that was from her press conference 2 weeks later, don't know.
So when Johaug found out about her issues with the doping control and the test that was obviously proved positive, do we give her credit for announcing it to the world instantly rather than holding back the information?
I think so, because it seems like the athlete has some power over when that decision comes out. And I think the Norwegian Federation probably nudged her and said, listen, we need to get this out straight away. And I think they handled it quite badly when Sundby, from 2 seasons ago, was only highlighted this summer.
So Marit Bjørgen, no such problems for her. She missed the whole of last season, remember, starting her family, and now she races her first Endurance World Cup as a mother, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see how long, if she can get back to her top form, how long it takes her. Sophie Caldwell, who is an American with a World Cup win. She got one last year in Oberstdorf in the sprint, and that was a sensational result from her. At 26-year-old, I think there's more to come from her. .32, familiar face, and the perfect draw for Heidi Weng, starting 30 seconds behind Caldwell. Nice name to chase. I think she should gradually make ground on her, and when she's got past Caldwell, if she does so, then she should have Marit Bjørgen in her sights. And Heidi Weng, beaten so many times by Marit Bjørgen and Therese Johaug. She's got 3 wins now, which she couldn't claim at the beginning of last season, but 51 podiums.
Yes, it's so good. She's always the nearly there girl, Heidi Weng. Although she has won here in the past, and then last year, remember, she took the wrong turning coming through the stadium in what was the pursuit race last year.
Absolutely.
Well, that's an aggressive start. You often can judge how the athlete's going to go just from the visual on the first 50 meters, how aggressive they're attacking.
Now, Ingvild Flugstad Østberg, she's been racing well in pre-season. She beat Heidi Weng in Beitestolen and finished 7th yesterday. Good Tour of Canada at the end of last season. Finished, what, 3rd in that event. So Østberg is certainly someone we need to consider for podiums in individual races and for top 3 or 4 in the overall World Cup come the end of the year.
Maybe even better, Patrick. I was looking at who could win this year. Yes, Marit Bjørgen's nailed-on favourite, we would expect. Kowalczyk, I think, is back, but for me, Østberg is one of the key challengers because of her sprint pace and her distance ability.
Anna-Maria Lampic for Slovenia. 30 seconds down on Østberg, and then it will be Jessie Diggins from USA. 25 now, Jessie Diggins.
There's the measurement again. Boots on, flat surface. And the strap, which enters the pole, no greater than 83% of your total body height. Jess Diggins, such a positive athlete. I love her attitude to hard training, to hard racing, and to life in general.
Yeah, we've seen some impressive races from her, and we've seen some impressive races from Justyna Kowalczyk. I think that was just a JK she put on the board there, and who can blame her? Otherwise, she could be there for 30 seconds. Saarinen slipping still, as we saw earlier on, and coming up to the 6.2 kilometre marker, just 3.8 kilometres to go from here, but she's going to struggle on the final hill. Doesn't look as though she's got any grip at all. I guess the positive side of that, Mike, if you want to find a positive side, is that you're going to be going faster down the hills. But at this stage of the race, you really want some decent grip.
You do need that, the energy, the excess energy. She's gone back into the tracks now as it's become less steep up this climb. It's a good pace that she's setting, but I see at the halfway she's been just passed by 8.7 seconds by Hannah Falk.
Palmakoski looked good yesterday, finished in 5th. And she's moved, like many of the Finns, she's moved up to Vuokatti, where they have an indoor tunnel. So it enables them to train summer and winter.
That was a good development to put the tunnel, 1.2 kilometers. They still use it a lot. You can work on your skiing skills all through the summer months. I think they keep it at a temperature of around -4 to -6 all the time.
And they've got the Finnish equivalent of the Swedish ski gymnasiums there as well. So as well as getting your education in whatever it is, biology, electronics, doesn't matter, you also get educated in physiology and everything to do with sport.
It's a great beginning, isn't it? If you show talent and they find the talented ones, bring them to these academies, it's an amazing opportunity if you want to be one of the best skiers like Ruka in the world.
Thinking back to your career, what would you like to have known more about?
More about, well, initially I had no idea about training. I started sport at 19, but yeah, so you want to know a little bit more about physiology, how to recover better as well is a big deal.
Well, we've welcomed back Saarinen and Björgen. Now it's time for Keegan Randall for USA. And at 34 now, she's not quite in the twilight of her career, but everyone looking forward to seeing how she gets on.
And she must have had a busy year. I think her child born, end of March, April?
Yeah.
I hope this is Kowalczyk back to her best, Patrick. We haven't seen the best for, a couple of seasons now from Kowalczyk.
49 wins when you take into account the tour stages, which didn't used to be counted as World Cup wins. Fessel, can she challenge? She needs to be past the...
This is good.
Car with 40 seconds to go. I think she's going to be 5 seconds or so inside that time set by Hannah Falk. We could be looking at 9:03, 9:04, provided she doesn't lose any speed on the uphill. And the fact that she's staying in the tracks, I was just going to say that she's got good grip, but maybe pushing her luck a little bit. A big slip on the right, and one slip you don't think too much about it, Mike, but all that momentum has gone, and you never get it back.
And it slips you, then you have to rebuild, slide your hips forward and over the ski again to get more compression. So far, so good, though.
Yeah, still good enough to take the lead by a decent margin. 9.5 inside. And that's great news for Nicole Fessel. Great news for the German team, who have been, well, they haven't had too much success. Last 10 years, it's been a downward slide for the German cross-country skiers, really.
It has, yes, 2007, 6, 7, 8, 9, they were at their best. And interesting, Fessel's teammate, did you see that? Denise Herrmann, of course, she changed to become a biathlete. She was finishing top 6 in the sprint races here, and she won the first IBU Biathlon Cup, missing 6 out of 10 targets, though.
And Kiloinen for Finland. Good all-rounder, Kiloinen. She can sprint, she can do the distance, she can classic, she can freestyle, so she shouldn't have any problems. Now, what about Marit Björgen? There's a car on the banner in around 2 seconds' time, and she's got 38 seconds. It took Fessel something like 32 seconds to make the top from there. So Marit Björgen could be the person going into the lead, having started number 30, and that will worry a few of the skiers out there if they hear that Björgen's in front. pre-season racing, Mike, were you impressed by what you saw?
I was. I think to come back and take that victory in Bayerstolen, and all the big names were there, except Johaug. I thought she was very impressive.
Look at that, 8 seconds inside Fessel, something like 17 seconds inside third position, so that's a comfortable lead for Marit Bjørgen. I know she's only done 3.1, slipping a little bit. That could be a factor come the end of the race. Just means that you don't trust the grip on the ski. You end up doing much more work with the arms, and when it comes to the final stages, when you need some arm power, it's just not there. But look at the standings at 3.1. Bjørgen, Fessel, Victoria Karl of Germany. She's had a great race. Actually, Germany absolutely peppering the top 10 at the moment. 4 of them up there in the top 10. It could change, of course. We've got a long way to go. A total of 80 starters in the Women's 10K Classic. And still quite a few who have yet to get off the line. 32 is Heidi Weng.
Great tempo, Patrick, but I don't think, well, she's certainly not going to challenge Bjørgen's time at this point. But I love the limb speed. She's trying to reduce the length that she's reaching up to, make those skis work to her advantage.
Yeah, she's going to be around second place. She might just miss out. No, she's just inside Fessel. That will do nicely, but when she hears the news, you're in second, you're behind Marit Bjørgen.
Same old, same old.
Some things never change.
How frustrating that must be. What about Østberg? This is looking better. Everybody's slipping, so I'm sure they'll figure it out that it's not just me that's slipping as they go along.
Well, I think Østberg is going to be pretty much level with Bjørgen. Bjørgen was 31 seconds to the top from that marker, and Østberg going through at exactly that stage.
She lost
into
momentum.
the herringbone. Well, there goes a second and a half, maybe 2 seconds. She needs to get the momentum back if possible. Stays in the soft snow. She's got worse skis than anyone we've seen so far.
Having to go out into the soft stuff, edging her skis, that's a lot more energy, and that's a pity. I think she would have been through the split time.
Yeah, it's going to cost her the lead, but she's not far outside. 1.8, and if she can pick some good speed up on the flat and the downhill, then Østberg is going to be a threat.
Further back on the track, of course, Kowalczuk's out there, bib 42. She's ahead of Bjørgen, not by much, 0.3 of a second at 1.5 kilometers.
Did you tend to go light on the wax, or did you prefer to have good grip?
I only wanted good grip. Didn't care about the glide. I just wanted to get up the hills as easily as possible.
Now, you were racing cross-country the time that Gunde Spahn was around, and his wax pocket was about the length of a biro. Remember, if anyone in the British team had less than a meter's worth of sticky stuff underneath, it was a bad day. So Diggins looking to challenge Bjørgen. She's not going to be too far outside. She's not going to match it. And Diggins has got slipping problems as well. Diggins 36. We've got some of the early starters. That's Olga Sareva wearing 6.
Oh, slipping badly, but look at the fight in Diggins. And it's -4 degrees. They're saying the air temperature with the wind -9, but the track has just become very glazed. The more athletes going around, the more glazed it's iced over it's becoming.
And you know who she's cursing at the moment.
That's hard work.
Yeah. Difficult choice. Interesting to hear Alex Harvey saying he won't decide which skis he's going to use until 10 minutes before the race. That doesn't give his technicians long to prepare them.
It doesn't. They've prepared a couple of pairs, so he's trying, but it's a tough time frame he's setting himself. This is good from Parmakoski, slipping as all the others seem to be. Oh, slipping badly. That's frustrating.
Second time round is going to be really tough. Really, really tough. Parmakoski's still on her first lap, so I don't think she's got too much chance of staying in the track second time up this hill.
I think the difficulty, Patrick, for the waxing technicians is, yes, you've got this icy track, which is giving its problems, but if you went for a much stickier wax, the new powder snow stepping out of the track is going to clog your skis. It binds onto the wax, and then they ice up, and then you lose your glide.
Which is exactly why we don't want to lose the classic technique, because it adds that dimension to the sport that means it's unpredictable.
Love it. Kowalczuk should be coming through the checkpoint at 3.5 very soon. 3.1.
Yeah, Ropinen taking the lead at 6.2, only a 2-second margin. but her time was well beaten by Marit Bjørgen, so we'll expect that to change when Bjørgen goes through in around 3.5 minutes time, and still they come off the start line. Kerttu Niskanen now for Finland. She'll be followed by Emma Viken, and then we've got Charlotte Kalla goes number 60, and Kalla, who's really been Sweden's top athlete over the last decade.
Very much so. Niskanen, I think she's going to perform well today, but everybody seems to think her brother in the men's race is going to win it, certainly podium. Ivo Niskanen.
He did well last year, and at this stage of the season, Mike, Norway is a team that traditionally do well and we've always surmised that it's the fact that they have such a tough selection to get in the team in the first place that you can't afford not to be on one of your season peaks at this stage. It struck me yesterday that the Finns looked to be on fabulous form, and I was just wondering whether you felt they were too good too soon. Don't forget, they host the World Championships this year.
Yes, it's interesting, and as Saarinen comes across the line, this is a good standard, a good time set. We saw it 2 years ago, didn't we, where Juha Järvi and Niskanen in the men's race both podiumed, and they did very little after that throughout the rest of the season. So great form at this time. Oh, great form for Kowalczyk, +2. If anybody can fight hard in difficult conditions, Patrick, it's Kowalczyk.
Fessel, the new leader at 6.2, going ahead of Ropinen. Good margin. So, from what we've seen so far, one or two expected results. Bjørgen going well, Østberg, Kowalczyk going well. I think Germany really are a team that are standing out to me, Mike, who it's not just one athlete, they've got a number, particularly Karl, Victoria Karl, who's going very well.
She certainly is talented. Won the 10k freestyle at Junior World Championships, second in the 10k Classic.
Sakura Shida through 6.2, 41 seconds off the pace. Bear in mind, they're taking roughly 3 minutes per kilometre. It should be a little bit under that come the finish. That's not a particularly quick time. We've seen much, much faster than that. I think the winning time last year was 25:30 over that distance.
Yeah, I guess it was. Bjørgen actually went through the 5k in 13:31. She's got the lead time. Veng's only 3.1 behind her.
7 seconds ahead of Fessel at 3.2. Has Bjørgen managed to maintain that lead?
I think she's going to have somewhat 20 seconds on Fessel, 18 to 20.
What about the technique?
It's not as a dynamic. The one thing I thought on the previous hill, we would see her completely running up this hill 2 seasons ago. It's still, the strength is still there. 18 seconds. Yeah,
that's looking good. What you notice, I didn't actually catch who she'd just overtaken, but very little up and down movement with Bjørgen, which is an indication that she has managed to get the decent grip under the ski. And the less grip you have, the more you have to bounce up and down. And of course, your energy then is just going up and down rather than forward. Bjørgen seemed to be maintaining that forward speed.
Very much. Look at those arms, the strength that she is getting. There's no arms to match that, those in the women's field. And she really is bringing those muscles into play today.
Now, I was listening to a training video the other day that was suggesting it was in skating, admittedly, that it was 60% arms, 40% legs. Do you agree with that?
What video was that? They play a large part, but you would want to use your main muscle groups. The arms are only, what, 28% of your available muscles, so I think the legs play, I would have thought, a larger part than that.
But it's an interesting one to look at, because I know you do a lot of coaching. We've both done some coaching, always trying to tell the athletes, use your legs, use your legs. But actually, if you think about it, if you just use your arms in classic, you can go faster than someone who's using their arms and their legs.
Oh, very much. And the leverage that you get through your arms is much greater than the leverage you bring. You lean forward, you've got travel behind your back, much more leverage. Well, it's looking close there. Veng pushing Bjørgen by only 2 seconds there.
Well, that's great news for Heidi Veng. She was 1.8 behind at 3.2, just over 2 seconds behind, going through 6.2. So I think that's close enough to mount a charge, but you can guarantee that Bjørgen will have the information forwarded, so she will know that she's required to put a burst in at the finish. Heidi Weng sprinting, though, looked a little bit better. It was better than Bjørgen's yesterday.
Yes, it was. And here's Østberg. The contrast between Østberg coming up here and her teammate Bjørgen earlier. Her grip is definitely not as good, or is she putting less power through the arms?
Looking for that, looking for the snow that the skis will work on. Back into the tracks now as the gradient eases off for Østberg. 16.4 outside. She's going to struggle to claim that back. She won't claim that back, surely, because Bjørgen's not struggling. And Weng, who's in second place, is looking very, very good. Through 8.1 for Ropinen. She's got the lead, but only 3.8 seconds inside Falk. That will get the crowd on their feet. Just behind her, wearing 21, that's Katrina Hennig of Germany. Germany with Fessel, Cole, Buckler, Belger, who's only 22. It's an exciting team for them, and Carl, of course.
Well, those are the early times. Ropinen competitive at this point at 8.1, but the pace further out. Ropinen doesn't rate in the top 10 at the halfway mark, so the times will change dramatically.
Now, just about everyone should be through the 3.1 kilometre, so we'll just give you a final update on that. I'm not sure we're going to be going back to that split point too often. Kowalczyk, Bjørgen, Østberg, Weng, the top four at 3.1, 3:15 the fastest, only 0.3 of a second between Kowalczyk and Bjørgen, and then with Østberg 0.5 behind, so half a second between the top three. That's just the situation we wanted. And then Heidi Weng was 4.4 behind, so it's very, very tight in this women's 10k. Has Kowalczyk got the has she got the endurance at this stage of the season? Usually takes her a little bit longer to find that form.
Yes, we never see her quite at her best at this time, but look at Parmakoski. This is by stealth. She's managing to hold on to so close to that incredible pace of Bjørgen.
6.8 behind. Kowalczyk, incidentally, started number 42. She should be through in under 2 minutes' time.
Well, look at the teeth gritting there from Fessel. Determination, you can see it written all over her face. And you need that as the top cross-country skier.
27 is Stina Nielsen. It's not going to be a second successive win for her, but will she have done enough to hold on to the yellow bib as the World Cup leader? That, of course, brings in a few Swiss francs as well. Now, Marit Bjørgen has taken a full 30 seconds out of Victoria Karl, who comes from Zella-Mellis, and there you see the margin between the two of them. It's the uphill climbs where Bjørgen is gaining, and she looks better this time up than she did last time. I wonder whether she's got the news that she's being tracked and tracked hard by Weng, and of course Kowalczyk, who had the lead going through 3.1 kilometres. Now Marit Bjørgen has to show her class. Still looks comfortable, to be honest.
This is an incredible comeback. Well, 603 days till yesterday, her World Cup gap, if you like, and it's as if nothing has ever been lost, nothing has changed.
From 18 seconds ahead of Fessel at 6.2, she's now 29 clear, so she gets faster and faster. But Heidi Weng knows exactly what she's got to do, having started a minute behind. No chance of the coaches making a mistake on the calculations there. But I wonder, Mike, with Kowalczyk starting that little bit later, 42, Kowalczyk starting what? 6 minutes after Marit Bjørgen. I wonder how much information Bjørgen's going to get on the pole.
Well, she will. She'll get a lot of information, and I think that's why Bjørgen has really thumped her pace higher. She knows she's being challenged.
This looks good from Weng. I think she's still going to be a few seconds outside. She went through past the Audi Quattro at, what was it, 21 seconds. And from my memory, it took Marit Bjørgen 31 from there to the split time on her first ascent of the hill. So I think Weng is going to be a little bit behind, having been very, very close at 6.2. Bjørgen certainly looked to have turned up the pace, and the numbers are indicating that as well.
They certainly are. What a turn of pace from Bjørgen. Weng has tried to simulate that attack, but it just isn't there. Bjørgen, the stronger athlete. Will that final climb, though, Patrick? Weng on the steep climbs, her slender body weight has a slight advantage in relation to the muscly Bjørgen.
28.0, 475 metres to go, 15 seconds to do it. She should be comfortably inside Falk's time, and it's going to be a Finn who takes the lead here in Ruka. That will give the crowd something to cheer about. So 12 seconds to do the last 75 metres. Finland's priority this year is the World Championships. No doubt about it. They will gear their training. They will have geared all this training in the summer towards a good peak February, March. Here comes Østberg, who has lost a little bit more ground. She was very competitive coming through 3.1, but now she finds herself 24.9 behind. Could well end up in the top 5. Just looking at other split points. Mike, of course, she was second place at the second split point.
She was doing well to begin with. That's a further 8 seconds lost to Bjørgen over the last 1.3 kilometres, 1.6 kilometres, I should say.
Yeah, we ought to track Kowalczyk as well. I know Kowalczyk was leading at 3.1, but I think she started that little bit too fast. Let's get can we get to split 4 or 5?
Yeah, split 4, so at 6.2 kilometres, 14.8 seconds behind. I think she'll lose a further 10 on that at our 8.1 kilometre marker.
And at that split point, we had Bjørgen, Weng, Pärmäkoski and Kowalczyk were the leading contenders. Nicole Fessel across the line. Look at that, 24 seconds inside. She'll be delighted with her day's work so far. At 33 years old, she is far from finished. Now we go back to Marit Bjørgen on the final climb, and look how easily she makes this ascent. She makes this look easier than she did in the sprint yesterday. Looked a little bit race rusty in that sprint yesterday. 1:35 to play with. Remember, she needs to go through the 75-metre mark with at least 12 seconds.
Incredibly, she did say she doubted herself, doubted her comeback a couple of times in her own mind, but now she's going to feel so happy after this, what looks like a victory.
I think we're looking at a lead of something like 35 seconds from Marit Bjørgen. She's coming up to the final corner now. She'll brake to the left, and then that leaves her with just over 85 metres to go. Kowalczyk, 38 is Pärmäkoski.
Oh, +5. That is good from Pärmäkoski. At the last check, she was 6.8. 1 second advantage to the Finn.
Well, that's encouraging. And that's not good news for the Norwegian team as Marit Bjørgen comes down the final straight. She's got lots of time to play with. It's been a brilliant last 3 kilometres from Marit Bjørgen, but will it be good enough? 42 seconds the margin. My goodness, that's a fantastic effort from 8.1, where she was only 29 seconds ahead.
Well, she paced that so beautifully well. We did feel that she was holding something back, that 3 kilometres. She let that come out more at 5 and then 6, and then really opened up from 7 onwards. Well, Pärmäkoski has got the advantage, if you like, that she's been given every split time, every metre off the way, if you like. But yeah, 5.8 is a lot to find.
It certainly is, but she does have the advantage of knowing what she's got to do. But that effort from Marit Bjørgen was sensational. Whether she wins or not, that is some comeback from Marit Bjørgen. Heidi Weng's been blown away. She's going to be off the marker, but looking for a top 3 on the podium again, surely, for Heidi Weng. And that will make 51. In fact, she was on the podium yesterday, so that will be 53 podium finishes in her career. Brilliant. It's not going to be a win today. We'll have to wait and see.
It's not far off, but you've got to be strong on these tracks, and that's what Marit Bjørgen is today.
Norway 1 and 2 at the moment. Germany in 3 with Nicole Fessel. We've got Parmakovsky, Kowalczyk, Usberg out on the track. But I must say, the shortened programme, Mike, just feels to be a little bit more electric, a little bit more dynamic. They've got more to give. The mini tour for the first weekend always struck me as a cruel way to start the season.
Yeah, let them warm up first. Let them blow the cobwebs out and get the memory of racing back.
26.55, so it's 10 kilometres, so it doesn't take too much maths to work out that they're well under 3 minutes per kilometre, and especially when you consider how slow the first 3.1 was. Kowalczyk's gone through, down in 6th place now, having led through 3.1, so getting a little overexcited. And this is what she was like last year, just looked laboured in the last half of the race. But I'm hoping we get to see her back to her best.
It's certainly looking more like she used to there. Yes, paced it maybe a little aggressive to begin with, but that's her desire to win. I think we'll see some better results to come from Kowalczyk.
Any more news on Krista Parmakovsky of...
No, I thought the cameras would go back to her, but of course Usberg looking for a third slot here.
Parmakovsky started 2 minutes after Usberg, who is 36.8 outside.
Well, this looks like Parmakovsky now.
So let's just give you the order in the finish as we watch Finland's Parmakovsky up the final climb. Björgen leads, 26.55. Weng in 2nd, Usberg 3. It's a clean sweep for the Norwegians at the moment, but Parmakovsky could well put an end to that. Nicole Fessel in 4. We've got Victoria Karl of Germany. Brilliant race from her. She's only 51 seconds off the pace of the race leader. And Stina Nielsen, yesterday's winner, down in 5th equal place with Victoria Karl. That might be good enough. It might be good enough to hold on to the yellow bib, but I suspect it's going to be Heidi Weng who goes into the yellow bib, but we'll wait until the end of the race.
That was an incredible climb there from Parmakovsky. She kept every fibre in her body focused on her technique, and the coach gave her exact timing.
12 seconds from the 75-metre mark. It will be close. It's 95 from here on the corner. Now she comes down. You'll see the marker for 75. She's only got 8.5. It's Björgen's race. Nothing Parmakovsky can do about that. But second place is going to be taken away from Heidi Weng, I think. Watch the clock. Weng on 27.07. She's comfortably inside that. And Finland get a podium finish. No doubt about it. No one else is going to better that. 4.6 outside, so she was even quicker than Björgen from 8.1 to the finish.
Well, that's an incredible finish, and what a good feel that must be to be finished today, to be the whole team much better than they were last year. A great start to the season.
Roll on the World Championships.
Interesting.
Say the Finns quickly before they lose their form.
Yeah. No, I think they might hold on. There's a different feel to the Finnish team, and look at the strength in Parmakovsky's arms now. She's put a lot of training into those arms, and it's paid off today.
Well, she said in an interview that she had really turned things around since she moved north to Vuokatti, and she's proved it today by getting herself in 2nd place, splitting the Norwegians. That's good for the sport. Mark my words, Norwegian domination after the scandals of the summer, I think is always going to be questioned, or certainly for the next 4 or 5 seasons. So I think it's good that someone else is getting in there and showing us that the Norwegians are actually human.
Oh, totally. And Parmakovsky now can really totally believe in herself hopefully for the rest of the season. She's a real challenger, and she's so nearly achieved that today. 4.6 over nearly 27 minutes of racing.
Astrid Jakobsen of Norway absolutely dominated this race last year, and at the moment they've got 1, 3, 4 in the top 10, so that's not total domination by any stretch of the imagination. I think Jakobsen could well put Sweden's Hanna Falk out of the top 10 with this performance. Jakobsen starting 40, as you can see from the bib. Keaton Randall started just after her. No sign of Randall so far, Mike. I can't see her on any of the top 10 leaderboards. So not quite as dramatic a comeback as we've just seen from Marit Bjørgen. And here is Kowalczyk, who's gone from 3 seconds ahead. She was 30 seconds behind at the last split point, and she's going to end up something like 50 seconds. Is it going to be that much? I think it may well be. 45. Well, at least she showed what she can do in the first 4Ks, Mike.
Well, that's it, and she's set out there to win this race. Whether it's the grip wax that has tripped her up a little, everyone's been slipping a fair amount, but 52 seconds and a top 10, I think Kowalczyk will be happy.
It's Bjørgen's day. Win number 103. Sensational.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to Ruka. Here is the race leader, Marit Bjørgen. I think she's done enough to notch up yet another victory. 28.55.2 her time posted at the moment. There are one or two good performances out there that are yet to finish. Niskanen, who started 58, Kalla and Shakalova, who started 63. They're all fast enough, if they hold their current splits, to take a top 3 slot. So the race is far from over. Here's Marit Bjørgen. What's she going to say? I'm very satisfied. I'm very happy.
Very happy with my comeback.
My skis were very good.
Maybe didn't expect this. I would say she had a little doubt entering this race. Even though the form was good last weekend in Beiderstolen, she really put it out there, and she is almost back to where she left off 2 years ago, 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, she looks in incredible shape. Incredible shape, Marit Bjørgen. And we will wait and see if she can keep that sort of form all the way through the season.
Another good finish result there, Mooninen. Only 50 seconds off. Can't give much more.
Same old, same old. Back in the winner's enclosure, or the leader's enclosure for now. It won't be declared the winner's enclosure until number 80, Katja Wisner, is across the line, but I think we'll have a very good idea before then. Kerttu Niskanen coming up to the 8.1 marker, started 58. She was only 21 seconds behind last time we saw her. She has lost a huge amount in the last, 3.5 kilometers.
I'm just thinking in the men's race at this final checkpoint, although the men's race later will be 15 kilometers, will her brother be leading? I think he might be. Niskanen started well. Her waxes let her down, I think, more so than most.
Well, I think we might well see her brother leading at 3.1. The men racing over 15 Ks, incidentally, and it's a tough race for the men, isn't it? Steep hills. Alex Harvey was saying there's so much rest on the downhills that you have no option but to give it 100% on every uphill. Do you agree with that?
I think this, and I think we mentioned it at the start of the programme, these long 15, 20 second, 30 second even recoveries allow you to attack those climbs because you're quickly getting another good recovery. It's unusual that we're seeing so much undulation, and the periods of glide is greater than 400 meters, 500 meters in places.
Well, they have 3 big climbs on each loop, so that's 9 big climbs in all. Anyone who's done any interval training knows that the first 5 you survive, and after that there's a deterioration. So there has to be a little bit of pacing involved.
Oh, there has to be. You can't get in a what will be the men's race will be maybe 37 minutes. You can't get by without taking the first 3, 4 within yourself. Not going too crazy.
Schlind of Norway, some way behind her teammate. In terms of distance, that will have put her something like 750, 800 meters behind Marit Bjørgen.
She'll be disappointed with that performance.
I'd be delighted if I was only 800 meters behind her. Shakalova. Last time we got a split, she was 25 behind. That has grown, and it's going to be closer to 55 now.
Well, the best of the Russians at the finish so far, Sedova, junior world champion, she's in 15th position.
Now, Charlotte Kalla Has she been overtaken by Shikalova? Charlotte Kalla wasn't doing too badly early on. She was only 17.8 behind. Pretty sure that was her in the background.
She's been unwell recently, though. Didn't take part in the Bruksvallarna races, which all the rest of the Swedes did.
So I wonder whether the instruction was go hard for 5k and then just cruise the second half of the race, because if she wasn't feeling well, she would have pulled out, surely.
That's quite amazing. She certainly looked to be struggling badly with her wax. We saw that before the programme started. But
at 3.1, she was 17 down.
Well, she was in the race to begin with.
Not bad. Bjornsson won 14, so that's another good American performance. It's not just about Keegan Randall. There are plenty in there. Sophie Caldwell, of course, racing today.
This American team, they believe that they can be up there and contend with and push the best team off the podium. And when you've got that kind of energy and that kind of effort, we've seen the American girls pushing so hard today. I think they might just do it. Maybe not this season, but down the line.
Well, you don't need us to tell you how strong Marit Bjørgen is. Well, I remember back in 2006, Mike, we just happened to be sitting on the same table as Marit Bjørgen, and even then we were astonished at the size of the shoulders and the triceps. She is very, very well developed, and she's used it well. I thought she looked very light on her feet today. Sometimes you think, she's just carrying a little bit too much bulk, but I thought today she looked lithe, she looked lively, the technique was positive, it was all about going forward.
And what about the way she reacted when her coaches were saying, listen, you're really being threatened here at 6.1. That turn of pace that she had, when you thought she was pushing her hardest, she still had that little bit left in reserve, and that's a very difficult athlete to beat when she can dig into this reserve which she showed in the last 3 kilometres.
But how much confidence will Palmakovsky take from the fact that she was quicker than Marit Bjørgen over the last 3.5 kilometres?
Huge amount of confidence. All the information was there. She was racing at home, so it was set up that she would really attack those final 2-3 kilometres.
Niskanen looking for a possible top 10. Jakobsen 104 behind, so she's missed that, and now it's about trying to get into the top 15, and she just misses out on that as well. The Finns have got Palmakovsky obviously in second, and Lara Mononen's had a really good race. She's down in 6th actually. She looked sharp in the sprint yesterday, and they've got Niskanen, as we've just seen, finishing in 17th. This is Emma Viken for Sweden.
Head is right down, but it's not really affecting her technique. The hips are still allowing the knee to come forward to get some compression on the ski. You just get a sense of how steep that horrible climb is.
She's going to be around 151 behind the leaders, and that's at least 45 seconds outside the top 10. And you can see how costly that is in terms of positions. Into 28th position. World Cup points obviously vital, really nice to pick some up in the first weekend of the season.
Yeah, top 30, a good psychological boost there.
Yulia Shikalova started well, faded badly on the second loop, and while we watch her come into the finish, just a quick reminder of what we've got in store. Let's stick to the well, we'll go up to the Tour de Ski, of course, which is one of the big highlights of the season. We start here in Ruka. Lillehammer next weekend. 3 tough races for both men and women there. That will be an interesting one. Then we head to Davos, which is a regular on the tour, up at altitude, so it suits some and not others. Might be interesting to see how Andrew Musgrave gets on there. And then La Clusaz, Mike. We're back in La Clusaz. Apparently the snow is going to be okay. We had to cancel it last year.
The snow is very good down in the Alps, well, everywhere this season. So many resorts having the early snow, and hopefully that will remain. I think it's an exciting programme up till Christmas, and then we've got the, what, I think 11th time out, is it? The Tour de Ski.
Yeah, the 11th. Last year was the 10th, so this will be the 11th, and we've got, what, 7 venues, Valmester, or 7 races, Valmester, Oberstdorf, Toblach, and of course we will finish in Val di Fiemme, the last 2 days held there, and of course the Alpchemise, the finale of the Tour de Ski. Who is going to be on top this year? Here's Charlotte Kalla. Well, all credit to her for keeping going, but I just suspect there was a race plan because she skied hard for 5, and then she's been on a stroll since then, but she's breathing very heavily when you consider how slowly she's going.
Well, she has attempted, as you said, she was only 16 seconds off the pace of, what, 3 kilometres. She tried, but now it looks like it's really caught up with her, and maybe she's just trying to ski that initial attack out of her legs, but looking exhausted.
Yeah, everyone's got a little place in their heart for Charlotte Kalla. Absolute gem when it comes to the big occasions. She performed out in Vancouver in 2010 at the Olympics there, but more importantly, she performed in Falun at the World Championships, her home World Championships, and her town come to a standstill. There's only one industry in her town, and everyone heads for the television when Charlotte's racing in the big races, and so she's a huge figure. It's not her day today, but on the comeback from illness, we'll see better from her over the next couple of weeks. Welcome back to Ruka. You're looking at the stats for Marit Bjørgen. She's won again, unofficial at this stage, but no one's going to touch her time. 274 World Cup. She's won 103 of them. So what's that, around 38-40%? And she's been on the podium in 166. So around 60%. That's a very rough guess. It's a staggering achievement. And when you consider that when they come into the Tour, they're nowhere near the top. So since she's reached the top, she's pretty much been consistent. Only 2006, 2007, had a little blip there, probably overtraining in 2005, possibly the result.
It's been an amazing career, and when you look at those stats, records are there to be broken, but I'm not sure that's ever going to be broken. The depth of racing there, the strength of racing there, and in the early days the Norwegian press, I think, put so much pressure on her. They knew her talent, she proved that as a junior, and then she couldn't handle this constant pressure. Why weren't you on the podium today? And so she did have a bad phase in the, what was it, 10, 12 years ago, but until she could cope better with that, until she matured mentally.
Yeah, I actually think she was doing too much. She races so hard. I don't think there's any doubt that when you're racing for the win, you are racing harder than someone who's racing for 30th place, and then it takes its toll. And I think she learnt that she couldn't do every race. Don't forget, she was the top sprinter, she was the top endurance athlete, and she was asking her body to do too much. It will be very interesting to see what she does this year, how much racing she does. There's no doubt she's going to win more than one race. She's got win number 103 today, and everyone else will be amazed at what she's achieved so soon after giving birth. It's a fantastic story. I think, though, we shouldn't forget Parmakovsky, who's done brilliantly for Finland, taking 2nd place, and Heidi Weng is back on the podium yet again. 3rd place for Heidi Weng today. So, Mike, performance of the day outside the podium?
Well, I like the way that Kicken Randall has come back strong, and Victoria Karl, the young German, 7th position.
So that wraps up our coverage of the first race today. Don't forget, there's plenty of action coming up. We've got the Nordic Combined also, and the Biathlon World Cup gets underway today. But we've also got the men's 15-kilometre classic. I sense that Mike has got his money on Niskanen, but watch out for the Norwegians. They're in good form. They got a win in the sprint yesterday. They could be on for another one today. We'll see you later on. Goodbye for now.